Alright everybody, welcome to another episode of Unique Adventurez. On this episode, we are out here in our brand new, well not brand new, but fairly brand new Rockwood mini lite. It's our 2022 2109S. And in this video, we're going to be going over how this 12 volt refrigerator does dry camping on a weekend on lithium, so stay tuned. Alright everybody, we are out here, our first dry camping weekend. We are out here in Manchester State Park outside of Port Orchard here in Washington. We're out dry camping completely this weekend on our 200 amp hours of lithium, and we are flexing its muscles. We are gonna see if it can keep up with our dry camping needs out here, especially with that 12 volt fridge. And if you've seen, you know, some of these reports on these 12 volt fridges, they do suck a bunch of power or have the capability. We have not done a test yet. We're bringing it out here, we're running it, and we're just gonna see what happens. We do have some power reserves in case we need it. We do have the generator, and typically we would have solar on the roof, but in this video, in case you haven't seen around us here, we're in really heavy tree cover. We are not going to have any solar that's going to be anything legitimate for the weekend, so we're pretty much solely running on batteries this weekend. So we're going to track and we're going to bring you along with us over the next couple of days here and see if this thing can actually keep up. But let's show you currently what our batteries are doing in the travel time here and in a setting up. Now mind you, we have this thing pre-cooled. We've got all of our food in it. We got everything down to temperature last night. We opened it up to put food in the 12 volt fridge, and it's already starting to suck power. I think the last time I checked, we're going to check here in a second, it was drawing about 6 amps. So that won't last the weekend if it continues to do that. I'm hoping it's just trying to cycle back down just because of us being in and out of it and loading everything in. So let's go ahead and check the current status of our batteries. So right now we are currently at 98%. We are drawing 6.8 amps, and so far we have consumed 4.6 amp hours. If we go on the current track we're on right now, we are going to last just a shade over 24 hours, so 27 hours. Now I'm not sure right now, Kim does have a couple of the lights on. We are trying to conserve some power as best we can. So we've only got a couple of the lights on inside. When the lights do turn on, we won't have all the lights turned on. Now, the other thing you got to think about when we set up, we had to use our power jack. Okay, we also have power stabilizers, and we're also looking this weekend at these snap pads that we just picked up. This is our first weekend with those, so we'll be able to let you guys know a little bit about that. So that's pretty much the batteries right now. It's about 7 o'clock at night, so we're going to try to get through the night here, and then we'll get back with you guys first thing in the morning and show you what these batteries are doing. And just to make sure everybody knows, we are running 200 amp hours of SOK lithium, and so we're running it. We'll catch up with you guys in the morning and check those numbers again. Alright everybody, it's the next morning. We're giving you that update on the 12 volt fridge and our battery system. Remember, we got that 200 amp hours. So far, we checked it this morning a little bit after about 12 hours of use, and we have used about 50 amp hours of battery already. When the 12 volt fridge is engaged, it is pulling anywhere between 5 and 7 amps at a time, and I was thinking it might have been a little bit worse this morning waking up, but I think it finally settled down, and we've adjusted the temperature a little bit this morning to kind of get it right in the range there, about 34 to 38 degrees or so. But let's show you guys currently what we're running. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. We just got done having breakfast a little bit ago, and we're gonna go check the smart shunt one more time and kind of see what that looks like. If we have to run the generator, pretty much 5 o'clock is kind of my deadline time to see whether or not we're going to make it through the night. If we need to, we'll fire it up at that time for about 3 hours or so, and I'm pretty sure if we had to, that'll get us through. But let's check that. It's probably about 14-15 hours after being disconnected and getting here, so let's check that reading. So we're over here by our smart shunt, which is on the back side of this pass-through here. So right now we're at 70%. We're running a little bit over 13 volts. Right now the fridge is engaged. It is running at about 5.2 amps, and on this current pace we will have about 1 day and 1 hour left. So we will check this again probably around 5 o'clock this afternoon. Remember, it's about 10:30 in the morning. We'll check it this afternoon and see if we're gonna actually have to run that generator or not. Hopefully we won't. So I mean, everything's been working okay. It's just that fridge is definitely taking a lot of power. So we'll check back in with you guys right around 5 o'clock. Are we gonna make it? We don't know. Stay tuned to find out. All right, we are now back. It is after 5 o'clock, so we've been here right around 24 hours now, in that ballpark, 22-24 hours. The fridge has been running off and on all day long. I have seen it kick on and cycle. Usually kicks up to about 6 amps or so when it is running. It's actually running right now, so we're gonna take you inside here real quick and just show you kind of what that sounds like. All right, I don't know if you can hear it, but it is definitely running. All right, so we're going to check those amp hours. It was at 53 amp hours used this morning. So let's go ahead and bring up the phone here. Let's kick up the smart shunt and see kind of what we're looking like. All right, so we're currently at 62%. We have now used almost 79 amp hours in 24 hours. So 79 amp hours used. We do have a little bit of an asterisk by that. I did mention that we weren't going to be able to have solar this weekend just because of the tree cover that's around here, but we did get a little bit of time for maybe about an hour to an hour and a half right around noon or so, where if you look up here, we got part of the sky here that actually opened up, and it was sunny for probably about an hour or two, and we were kicking up solar up to 16-17 amps coming in. So we were definitely backfilling the batteries a little bit, anywhere between 15 amp hours ish or so. At least that's what my GoPower, at least that's what the GoPower controller system says, about 15-20 amp hours. So that 79 is more like 99 amp hours in this first 24 hours. Now, are we just running the fridge? No. What have we been running? The water pump as we need it to do dishes, wash our hands, use the toilet. We've turned lights on. We've done the things that we would normally do while we're out camping, and it hasn't been that big of a deal. We haven't used the inverter at all, so we're not powering that. We're powering the radio a little bit to listen to some football. But yeah, it's about 100 amp hours for roughly, give or take, for the day. We're gonna run this for the rest of tonight. I'm gonna let it ride and see if we can go all night long on the rest of the batteries. We should be fine. I noticed during the night we only used about 20 or 30 amp hours once the temperature cooled down. So we're gonna check back in with you in the morning. Hopefully we still got some battery left on this guy. We're not bringing out the generator tonight. We're gonna let it ride. we'll see in the morning and see exactly what this ended up looking like. Alright everybody, it is now Sunday morning. We're going to pull up those numbers. We have been out here camping now for about 41 hours or so, so just a little bit shy of 2 days. We have been, trying to, camp like we would normally camp in here. I will say that the 12 volt fridge, it does take its power. You can boondock with it if you have the right setup, the right power setup. So let's take a look at what our numbers actually are. And so I'm just going to show you currently right now. You can see it's about 10:30, 11 o'clock. We're at 35%, about 135 amp hours on that. But you also got to add the 20 hours that we replenish. So 155 amp hours total is pretty much what we used here in 2 days. That's a lot of amp hours. And with our old setup, when we didn't have the 12 volt fridge and we were still kind of doing just, normal basic things, like on a weekend, we'd use probably about 50 amp hours or so. So that's like 3 times the amount of power, and most of all that is contributed to the 12 volt fridge. So could we have made it 2 days on that without the solar? Yeah, we could have, but the minimum is going to be 200 amp hours depending on your setup. I am thinking we either need to get, if we're going forward here, we probably need to get a ground deployed solar unit to be able to chase some of the sun, or we're going to be adding another 100 amp hours most likely. One of those two to kind of combat some of this, just to make sure that if we want to use that extra power, we don't have to worry about it. Like I said, we didn't use the TV, we didn't use the inverter, we used our lights sparingly, and we turned the water pump on when we needed to. We didn't take showers, so that would have required a lot more power. So I hope you got something out of this. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Let us know what, how you feel about the 12 volt refrigerator systems. What are your opinions? What are, what have been your experiences so far with the 12 volt fridge? It's got its pros and cons, but the big con is definitely its power usage. So if you're on like a stock battery setup, like a 12 volt setup that these come from, at least ours came from the factory, you're maybe gonna get an overnight, and that's probably about it without destroying your batteries. So I think that they put the solar on the roof, the standard solar on the roof of these things, just to get you by as you're going down the road, but not necessarily for a boondocking setup. If you're trying to dry camp with a 12 volt fridge, you need to probably have, I'm going to come out and say, you need to have lithium on board. You need to have at least 200 amp hours to combat this. And we hope to do a video down the road where we can really utilize the solar and see, can 400 watts of solar, which is what we've got on the roof, the double 190s from the factory. One came from the factory, and then we optioned the other one from the factory. So we've got 380 watts on the roof. Can that keep up with this monster? I think it might be able to, depending on if the conditions are right. I am completely validating the point of adding that extra panel from the factory. It's worth it, at least for us. So hopefully you got something out of this. I don't want to keep dragging this on too long. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed so we do more tests like this and run you through our experiences on our different setups in this 2109S. You won't miss it. But until then, we'll see you guys in the next adventure.